Hello, Dr. Jim Palermo coming to you from Gardner Webb again with an introduction to Module 7, Week 7 of our MELS 603 for Fall 2014. Session 7 covers a couple of big ideas that I want to emphasize. In the text readings, Volume 1, Chapter 6 is on student classifications. Please read that and you'll see a little bit more about the many different ways that we legally classify and identify students, and have different legal obligations for folks with different classifications. Um, I've created a brief handout, something called What's Worth Knowing, that's in the content for this week that may help uh, guide your readings in these chapters, and it's a simple form that can be used to pick out main ideas anytime you do some reading, and maybe something you want to pass along. But I created a What's Worth Knowing sheet for Chapter 6, Student Classifications, and Chapter 10, which is the other readings from Volume 2, Chapters 9 and 10. I particularly want to emphasize Chapter 10, Public Funding of Non-Public Schools, this week. So that's in the news. An awful lot is going on with charters and vouchers in North Carolina. So I'd like you to definitely pay attention to Chapter 10 in Volume 2, and I'll ask you to respond to that. In fact, while I've got the discussion open here, let's take a look at that for Module 7. There is one coming up this evening on, actually harkens back a couple of chapters to teacher rights, and a gay teacher who has not come out at school, but it has come out in the community. What's the law? Um, Again, gay marriage is right at the front of uh, the headlines. So make sure that you cite current law and also your school board policy if you know it. How do you react when parents ask that a teacher be removed for his public comments? And then the other, again, does touch on Chapter 6. Be aware of North Carolina state funding concerning charters and vouchers. It does change very quickly as we speak. October 12th, there was something last week about funding for the vouchers. Check out North Carolina's Opportunity Scholarship and get up to speed on the state law and what's happening in the courts about vouchers, please. And I'd like you to take a position on that, pro or con, and certainly I'm not going to judge or grade you on your opinion, but I would love to hear a good discussion about vouchers if we can in the discussion board. Many of you have done one of the major assignments for this term. That is, you have turned in a part of skip C, D, or E to me in Blackboard, and I've graded those and given you some feedback. Remember, my goal for you is to be proficient, please. So if I've given you a 3 and rated it proficient and recommended that you go on to TaskStream, then you may want to do that. If you choose to resubmit items to me for grade, you may do that as well. Remember, please, that on the assignment submitted to me in Blackboard, I will take two attempts, and the second attempt wipes out the first one. So making a 3 proficient is my goal for you, and to move on and load some of these artifacts into TaskStream. But when it comes to loading into TaskStream, know too that we have to address the competencies. In addition to the rubric, content rubric for each of the components of the artifacts, you need to also address the competencies that are in our handbook and that are related to the North Carolina Executive Leadership Standards. So the electronic portfolio has to be proficient in both the content and also the descriptor rubrics, and we've been emphasizing, or I have been emphasizing, the content rubric, but make sure that you are addressing the descriptor rubric as well. In the MELS handbook, in the description of each of the different artifacts, there is a matrix that looks like this, and I've pasted the matrix for the OMA into this little Jim's notes on addressing standards and competencies, but make sure that you understand that for component 4C, adheres to legal requirements for planning and instructional time, that you have addressed that for 4C. And in 4A, as you write your OMA A, 5A1, works with others to incorporate the school improvement team, is a descriptor that you should address. Now, you can do this in a couple of different ways, and your instructors in 601 and 602 may have had different expectations for you. That's fine. At this point in the game, you're submitting items to me in Blackboard, and I'm primarily looking at the rubric, the content rubric. But when it comes to putting these into TaskStream, now you have to also address the descriptor rubrics. So some instructors have asked that the students embed the descriptor statements in the artifact narrative or attach them at the end of the narrative. I've not required that or asked that of you. Here's an example of how someone addressed 4A2 in one of the, I think this was from an APSL, but this is the descriptor, and then this is how this candidate has said that he has met that descriptor. So he attached that to the bottom or the end of his narrative. Well, now he can take that and copy and cut and paste it and put it right into the form, which is in TaskStream. So when artifacts are submitted to request comments in TaskStream, you're going to see a line like this that says component form. And at that point, you must complete the form in TaskStream, or if you've done it with the artifact in Blackboard, then cut and paste those descriptor summaries into the form in TaskStream. So here's an example of what it looks like in TaskStream. If you've never looked at it, click on the one that says Form next to the OMA A or OMA B, and you'll see that it lists the descriptors that you should address for this particular artifact component, and you can say not demonstrated and put an X in there, or demonstrated and then tell how you demonstrated that descriptor in the completion of this artifact component. I hope that clarifies some of the questions about addressing standards and competencies in TaskStream. And again, this is a step that must be completed before you're evaluated. This must be proficient in evaluation in TaskStream, but this is stuff that I hadn't expected or asked you to do when you were doing Blackboard. Now I'm going to ask you to do that as you put them into TaskStream. So know that that's coming if you weren't aware of it, and I have put this document called Addressing Competencies in the Module 7 content that'll be open tonight for you. Discussions, competency statements, this week, not as much here for you in the way of content. I'll be updating some of the PowerPoints related to the readings in the chapters. I do really want you to think about charters and vouchers this week. If you are currently a public school employee in the state of North Carolina, know how this is going to impact you, your district, and your future in the state of North Carolina. Maybe you want to go start a charter school and be principal of your own charter. Perhaps vouchers will work for you, but certainly a hot button issue and something that we can talk about further in the discussion. You should be working ahead on the OMA. You should at this point have an OMA A or B drafted in just a couple of weeks. I'm going to ask you to be loading those OMAs in Blackboard. So if you're still cleaning up or working on that skip, get them done, please. Get them in for that second round of grading in Blackboard. And then as soon as I have told you that it is proficient, please move those artifacts from Blackboard over to TaskStream in the request comments field, and also start to complete the competency rubric. So that's plenty for this week. Thank you. I hope you have a great week, and I'll talk to you again next week.